Hey everyone, welcome back to the Spirit Show. And today I'm very excited. We have here with me a guy that is living in Dubai for over 10 years, came from the UK with such a brilliant story. And we're going to be diving into a little bit about his life, entrepreneurship, leadership, team building. Welcome, Daniel. Thank you very much for coming, man.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
Yes. After maybe 7-8 months, finally.
Yeah. We did a bit of work together, for anyone that's wondering. Did a bit of work together, but never actually met each other. But it's really nice to meet you, and thanks for having me on.
You know, it's just crazy how like in social media sometimes you just meet someone and then we just connect with them, but then we don't actually sometimes meet face to face, right? And when we meet, we see how that person is in reality, right?
I think that's the thing with social media is, people don't show their true self. And I would like to think that I'm the same person on social media as I am when you meet me,
No, it's the same. No worries.
Good.
Yeah, but I mean, just for us to start, I like to kind of give like a just brief of what we're thinking for this conversation. The goal, as we always know, is to kind of share insights and to go for these people that want to know a little bit about your skills, your mindset, your insights on a lot of topics that you are an expert on or that you know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But just to start, I just wanted to dive a little bit on your, let's say, before moving to Dubai. Who is the Daniel that before and then what made you come here? But just in the beginning, like who is Daniel for yourself?
Yeah. Who is Daniel? There's a couple of questions in there because who is Daniel is different to the person that Daniel was before I moved here. But I'll go to the Daniel who was before I moved here. And the Daniel before I moved here was somebody that was lost, didn't really know what they wanted in life, just wanted to escape the current situation that they were in. And that's how Dubai, I didn't even know anything about Dubai. It was my one-way ticket out of a place that I didn't want to be much longer. I'd always travelled from like the age of 17, spending summers away in Europe, and I just always had a feeling that UK wasn't going to be for me for a long time. I didn't really truly know myself, to be honest. I think obviously being a lot older now and a bit more mature and having experienced a lot more of life, I definitely know who I am now. Yeah. But at that time, I don't think I did.
So, did you start working back in Europe during this age? Or?
Yeah, I actually got my first job when I was like 10 years old.
Oh, really?
I got a paper round. I come from a working class family, so my mum didn't really have the means to give us pocket money. So, ways for us to go and earn our own money was to get a local paper round. So I had two. I had one that delivered papers to every door, and then one that people paid for those newspapers. And that was fun in itself because, first of all, I got money for it. Second of all, I enjoyed the freedom of just being able to have the excuse to leave that kind of place that I was in, that area. But then found a passion for cooking when I was 14 and ran with that for many years of my life. It was quite fortunate because I didn't do very well at school. So fortunately for me, when I went to college, I didn't have to have any grades to do the cooking courses. So it all worked out quite conveniently, to be honest.
So during college, you were doing actually a cooking degree, let's say.
I was training to be a chef.
Okay.
So
and now you work like as a business development, and you have your own business now.
Yeah. It completely changed. I mean, the thing is, it was kind of all remained still quite relevant to what I did. But I just knew when I got to the pinnacle of, let's call it the chefing world, it wasn't a place that I wanted to be. I'd always dreamed to be the best chef and work in the best restaurants. And then when I got to a Michelin star restaurant, I realized that this isn't actually a good place to be. You work too much, you don't have a life, and you have no money to live. So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So when did you start college?
So I started college when I was just after school. So I was 15.
15.
Yeah.
And then you were there for like 4 years or 3 years?
So I spent 3 years at college. But in between that, I took a stopgap and kind of traveled around and trained in a different college as well.
Because I'm trying to understand, like, how was this, let's say, a roadmap from this moment that you were as a chef in this Michelin restaurant, and then you came to Dubai.
Yeah. So what happened was I'd left school at around 15 and a bit years old, joined college. That was the option, because it was like either stay at sixth form. I hated school. I hated it so much. And it was either that or go to college. And luckily I'd done a work experience in a restaurant. So I'd got a part-time job in a restaurant, and the chefing course came up. So I did that. And that lasted for around 3 years in total. In my third year, obviously fast forward, I really loved chefing. Like, I loved it so much, because you're literally, again, it's almost like the freedom that I wanted, and I was always out, always working, earning money, but like had good camaraderie with the chefs. Didn't really care too much about earning too much money, but I just enjoyed it. But I was really good at it, because I've always been quite good at doing things physically, manually, like with my hands. I'm really good at doing stuff, and cooking obviously is with your hands, So I really excelled in that. And what happened was I got approached to go and work for a celebrity chef in the UK.
Okay.
And he pulled us out of college, and basically I'd won this event of like Chef of the Year, and the winner of that competition got a job in a Michelin star restaurant. So I left when I was about 18 to go and work in London, and work in a Michelin star restaurant.
So that's how you started not started, but that's how you started back in your hometown.
Yeah.
You went for this championship, won, and then went to London. So that was, let's say, your first big opportunity to kind of leave your place, let's say. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, but because I had the summer breaks, in the summer breaks I was also leaving.
But like for work?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, even when I went to Europe though, I was still working, but it was more like work to party.
Fun. Yeah, different.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that was all happening in the summer breaks, and then I spent some time in different colleges around the UK, studying there, and then eventually ended back in Northampton, which is my hometown.
Yeah.
And then the whole Michelin star thing happened, and that's when I moved to London to work there.
Yeah. So then from London, then you spent some years there, and then is when you came to Dubai.
I came to realize very quickly that chefing wasn't for me in that world, because I was working 21-hour days. I was sleep deprived. I was depressed. I was everything you could ever imagine on 3 hours sleep a night, and I was getting paid the equivalent of £800, which for people listening is like not even 5,000 dirhams to live in central London.
Which is one of the most expensive places.
£800 a month. I had nothing to my name. And there was a short stopgap, because by the time I'd kind of quit chefing, I was around 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably a really hard part for me, because all I'd ever known was chefing. I didn't have an education to fall back on. And, I'm 34 now, so that would have been obviously 13, 14 years ago. A lot's happened since then. So, people are a lot more open-minded for skill sets nowadays than what they were back then. People just saw me as a chef. They didn't see that I could work hard, dedicated, good with my hands. I could create things, very creative, like all these different aspects. They didn't see it then. And I will always remember one conversation I had with a recruitment consultant, because I was like, I don't want to be a chef anymore. And I was going for corporate jobs. And I thought to myself, I can get a job selling ingredients to restaurants. I know ingredients. I used to be a chef, but even that, I couldn't get a job for love nor money. And this one woman recruiter, and I don't know if my life would actually have been the same if this moment didn't happen. It was so important for my journey. And she sat in front of me and she went, "Do you know what, Daniel? Looking at your CV, we think it's best that you just stay a chef. Be a chef for the rest of your life. You're basically unemployable." And I was like,
"What do you mean?"
And I'm obviously suffering with being knocked back nonstop, lack of confidence. But inside me, I was like, "You will not determine my future." And then slowly but surely things started to happen. I was very sociable, could meet different people. And then that's what landed me my first job, selling things.
So, that's very interesting, because you were in a place that you wanted to change.
Yeah.
And then you moved, tried to find someone that would help you to change, but then like, no, just keep the same.
Yeah.
Right. So how was in that moment, like you said that, no, she's not going to define my future and everything, but how was that, like, what do you think that was the key thing on that moment that made you pursue, no, I'm going to do because I want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've always, like, especially later on in my corporate career, I would always perform when people were trying to push me into a corner. So when people doubted me, I always came straight back out. And, you know, and it was actually a tactic of my bosses. You know, they knew, you know, that the way to fire me up is to doubt me. And by doubting, I would like go and just smash loads of deals. And and to be honest with you, I'm not even going to be like, oh, this is where it came from. I don't know where it came from. I just learned from that moment that, like, you know, I wasn't really going to be told what to do. I suppose with the whole chefing thing as well is, you know, when I left school, like my teachers used to put me down as this like kid that was disruptive, and in reality I was just wanted to do things differently. I was creative more than sitting in a classroom watching a chalkboard. You know, like, that wasn't my way of learning. My way of learning was with my hands doing stuff, like, as I said, being physical with things. And that was it. And, you know, there was a lot of setbacks along the way from that. It wasn't like plain sailing. You know, I had a lot of knockbacks.
Yeah.
But they're the moments that really shape you as an individual, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's very hard because in that moment that you're looking for help, that person that you're looking for help, it kind of was trying to put you back, right?
Yeah.
As you're saying. And that was the moment that, you know, let me prove it. To be honest, that's something even similar to me, because I was even talking with our previous guest, Natasha, about weight loss. And for me, it was the same. When I was a kid, the professor, she looked at me, she's like, oh, you don't fit in the chair. I was like, what do you mean? Like, how can you tell this to a 12 years old, you know, in school, that, and he's chubby, that he doesn't fit in the chair?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And then from that moment, I kind of like started also that journey that would kind of change my mindset, I would say, you know.
I was having a conversation with my girlfriend yesterday, and it sounds really bad to say this, but 75% of humans I come into contact with, I just don't like. And there's a reason why. It's because they're so close-minded. I think not having an education has helped me have an open mind. I'm open to every single aspect of information that comes my way. People that do well in school, that are told, this is how you do things, this is what you do, they learn to do something. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way, but they have closed and trained their mind to think this is the right way and that's the only way. Whereas I didn't have that. Because I didn't listen. I didn't take anything in at school. And, you know, that I think that's the problem with most of society today, is it will try and put you in a box. You know, it will try and tell you this is what you are. It will like, so many people want to be labeled. Like, everybody wants to be diagnosed with something now. I mean, everyone's got ADHD. Everyone's got this. Like, it's just putting you in a box. That is what defines you. And it's just like, I think it's like, you know, it's nonsense. And this is what I love about the UAE. You don't get defined here. You can be whatever you want to be. But it's the same, I'm sure, for Brazil. In England, because of the way things have been built, you know, people just don't have the ability to really dream and think things are possible, because, you know, you've got a government that's screwing you and don't let you be a free thinker, because you haven't got the ability to think. Whereas here, you're surrounded by success, and it allows you to dream big, think big, and achieve what you want, you know? So kind of like going the long way around. But yeah, you know, when these people were the way they were, I just look at it as like, you're just a closed-minded person.
Yeah. But I mean, that's something that's very important, but very hard, like, especially when you are young, right? To kind of have this view on the thing, right? But it's key, right? And to be honest, that's something that you were mentioning, like in Dubai, I've been here for three years almost, and you've been here for 10 years, right? But just in my action, like these 3 years that I'm here, I can see that it's just so brilliant that you can create a place that dozens of nationalities are together, living, coexisting, and it's all peaceful. Things are working, right? Because if you just have any other place in the world with this much diversity, I'm sure you'll have a lot of problems that police will need to come and solve it. A lot of fights, or I don't know, people just going out of control,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy. But one thing that I wanted to ask you, so you were saying like Dubai is kind of this place here, right? How do you think that Dubai, and you started your company, your own company for 6 months now, right?
Yeah, about 4 months ago. it
4 months,
launched,
yeah. How do you think that Dubai is for like entrepreneurs like you? Because I mean, we didn't still dive into the part of your, let's say, job here,
Yeah, yeah.
but for your company, like how was for you to start a business in the UAE?
Super easy. Yeah, it was really easy. I mean, I was very like how everything has happened has really been quite fortunate. Not fortunate, like not fortunate because it actually the way it's happened is it's meant to happen that way. Um, but yeah, through my podcast, I very quickly came to realize that the people that I was chatting to, the difference between us was that they had got the balls to go and do the business, and I hadn't. But also as well finding something that you truly feel passionate about, because so many people out there now try and make entrepreneurship sound sexy. It's so fucking hard. Like anyone that says that you can earn this amount of money in no time, it's all a lie. It's clickbait stuff. That's not real life, and it is super hard. And that's why I'm a big believer in you have to be passionate about something if you want to build a business within that, because you will find some seriously tough times where that business is draining more money than it's making. So you have to feel so passionately about it that you're just going to keep going. But yeah, that came from my podcast. And, that was because I was surrounded by incredible entrepreneurs in the UAE. I spoke to somebody, I had a professional footballer come onto my podcast, and it's the next episode that goes live. And he was saying, I mean, he's a professional football player. He used to play for Liverpool. He's a big fish. And he was saying, in the UK, you just can't get guests. Everyone's so arrogant. Nobody wants to give you the time of day. Dubai, you knock on a billionaire's door. Yeah, no problem. I'll come into your podcast. That's the difference. Like, that is different. So when it came to the setup of the business, there was a process. It took 3 years to actually launch. So it was a long process to come up with the idea, develop it, brand it, come up with a product line, etc., get it approved, testing, all that good stuff. But as a business, it was very easy. Like, this is the thing with Dubai. It's convenient. Like, everything is at your fingertips. Like, you can do anything. Like, there's no limitations.
But why do you think that this is the case here and not in other parts of the world?
Because I don't think in other parts of the world people want other people to be a success. Like, I'll speak on behalf of the British government, yeah? The British government, I believe, screw people left, right and centre. You have to pay income tax, road tax, council tax, TV licence and VAT, and then, so you're getting 30% deducted from your income tax, plus all the other taxes. Like, you literally have no money. Like that, and where does that money get spent? It's wild. And what do they give back to the people? And it makes it so hard. You want to start a business there, you have to pay 20% corporation tax or whatever it is. It's crazy. Here, if you're a corporate entity, you only have to pay 9% corporate tax if you make X amount of profit. So it's like you're already doing well. Okay, now you're doing well. Well, that doesn't exist in England. What can the government look at people and they think, what can I do to suck the life out of that person? Like, for me, democracy is dead. Like, there is no fucking democracy. It's bullshit. I'd rather live in a dictatorship all day long if this is how the dictatorship is run. And I know, unfortunately, some dictatorships have not obviously gone as well, but depends on who you speak to. But in the UAE, this country for me is the land of the free. It's a land of opportunity. The government here should genuinely set up a consultancy and show other countries how to run a business.
100%.
Like, it's a good place to be.
Yeah. I wanted to dive a little bit on how was for you when you first arrived here?
Yeah.
Because the UAE is a place that everything changes very fast, right?
Yeah.
In a way of development. So from 5 years, like 5 years ago, it's very different than how it is nowadays. Like
Yeah.
the buildings and like this kind of stuff. So how was like when you first arrived here like 10 years back? Like you came
Yeah.
with a job already, or how was it?
Yes, I'd lined up a job, but like I said, I knew nothing about the life here, so I did throw myself into work. It was really difficult in the beginning, I love it now, but when I first moved here, I was extremely homesick because it wasn't what I was used to. It was a foreign place. I had nobody around me. Didn't have much money as well, and there was some tough times, but tough times make strong men, and that's what it helped me to do. And I remember going home after the first 6 months. I went home for Christmas, and at that point, I was really homesick. I was like, there was times I was thinking, can I still do this?
Yeah.
I went home for Christmas, and I was like, what is this place? Like,
I cannot.
She's really, yeah. I was like, I met my brother for a beer, and he was like, mate, he was like, I will slap you if you move back to England. He's like, there's nothing going on here. Stay in Dubai. Came back on New Year's Day, went to Atlantis, had lunch on the beach, and was like, all that homesickness gone. Done. Yeah. But I had to work hard. The first 3 years of Dubai, like people think when you come to Dubai, you go through the airport, you collect a Rolex in the arrivals, and off you go, get in your Lamborghini and off to the high life. It's not. Like, if you don't want to put in the hard work, Dubai will chew you up and spit you out. But if you do work hard and really, really really give it, you can be successful here. Like anyone can do that, but you have to work hard. So the first 3 years for me were the challenging ones, like professionally. But once I broke through that 3 years, that the compounding effect of hard work really started to come into effect.
Yeah. The UAE is just like such a great place for, let's say, new beginnings, I would say, right? To kind of start and to actually give a chance of growth. Yeah. But do you think that here, like at the same time that we're talking about this, do you think like that the competition here, it's very high level as well, or it's a bit easier to navigate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you have to come in and break existing relationships, right? But nothing, and again, we were talking about this earlier about the whole kind of like get rich quick schemes and stuff. It just doesn't exist. Like you may have one or two people that have got rich quick and been very fortunate, but your average person will have to work extremely hard. Like there's competition for everything, but it's like, how are you the best? How can you be the best? Now, the fortunate thing is most humans are stupid and will focus on one thing. So your opportunity is to how can you be different? And, I think personally is do the simple things right. Do the simple things right, take care of your customers, and also lead with good intentions. I think so many people are just out for themselves, and I've always said it throughout my business life. It doesn't matter how people treat you, always remain the same, because there'll be one person that really values what you're about and the values that you have, and they'll be your customers for life. You don't need, sales is, it's like fishing. You send out the fish net, you catch a load of fish. You're not going to eat all the fish. You pick out the good ones, you filter it down, you put them into the funnel, and then you nurture them and, go and grow your own fish farm somewhere else. And that's truly, I think, how you do things. People try and overcomplicate it, but it's just do the basics right, really take care of your customers and lead with good intentions.
Yeah. But then one thing comes to my mind, because like I agree with you, but then if you say that is like so easy, like that easy in terms of doing the basics, why do you think it's very hard for actually people to be consistent? You know what I mean?
Because people give up too easy.
Yeah.
People are surrounded by easy, look at everything. Online, you go online, yeah? You scroll, get ripped in 60 days, get $10,000 within your first month, everything's on a fast-paced environment, but it was never that quick before. Before the likes of social media and stuff like that, it was never that easy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can message you in a second, yeah? Before, I had to walk to your house, send you a letter, call up your house phone, and if you weren't in, like that was the ways of communicating. So everything had like a delay, like, and you know, boys, now we live in such a fast-paced environment. Our brains haven't adapted to how things should actually be. Like, you know, we've got caught up in the environment of having things quickly, and you know, having to set expectations, you know, is so key. It's so key to anything in life, and you know, people give up way too easy.
Yeah.
You know, I see it all the time. Like, people will come join and they'll leave if it gets too tough.
And to be honest, that's something that I have come to realize here. I feel that at least for some people, Dubai is something that is very fast.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, they're gonna come 6 months later, 1 year later, come back.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, depends case to case, but I think it's just, I don't know if I don't know, and maybe you can even give some more insights on that, but I don't know if they didn't have the willingness to kind of continue further. They gave up too early. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing is, you know, first of all, and again, this is another thing I think other countries can learn by. We are immigrants in this country, and they say, if you want to come work in this country, no problem. You have to have a job. You have to have a medical. You have to have this, and this. And oh, by the way, it's also expensive. So if you can't afford to live here, see you later. Now, the good thing about that is that, not being funny, you don't kind of get, you know, the idiots of society, which just think they can just come and sponge off the system. So you get a lot of high class people here. And, you know, I think that the people that come here and say it doesn't work out for them, it's because they've not come with the right mindset. They want to go out every weekend, get drunk, be seen, wear a Rolex, this, you know, and, you know, that's why it doesn't work out for people. It's as simple as that. If you're being told, that you're going to earn $10,000 in your first month, you're expecting to earn $10,000 in the first month. Yeah. I started working with an ad agency when I launched a brand, and he said to me, don't worry, we're going to make around $20,000 in your first month. And I was like, it's bullshit, mate. Like, it's never going to happen. What happened? It didn't happen. And what I'd done is set the expectations to know that this is the long game. It's not a short game. And I'm prepared to take whatever it is. Whereas, you know, some people just are not. They'll come out here and be like, it's okay, I'll do my first deal my first month. I have enough money to live here. Off we go. But it is what it is.
When it comes on the midway, whatever, just go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. One thing that I wanted to kind of dive is, in your experience, let's say working on the company for 10 years now, like how do you, because, you know, one thing that I can feel is that you are, like you were saying, like about 75% of the people, it's a little bit hard to relate, right?
Yeah.
Or to kind of connect. And I agree with you. Like, it's very hard to find people that are actually with the same mindset, but not just the same mindset in terms of like, oh, let's be on this echo chamber here, just what we do, but rather like ideas, being open to do things, right?
Yeah.
But how it is for you on your workplace to kind of navigate this and to lead a team, right? Because to lead a team inside the company, you know what I mean? Like, how is it to navigate these people that have different maybe expectations, different experiences, different expertises?
Yeah. You know, I think one of the benefits is I had a lot of bad bosses in my time. So I learned from them that how not to be a boss. So that was a very good thing. And, you know, I was also like, let's not get it wrong. Like, when I first got my job role in business development, and for anyone kind of listening in that obviously doesn't know who I am, you know, when I first moved here, I started out in construction at the bottom and worked my way up to working with a company and taking them from 17 million dirhams worth of debt to turning over just over 150 million this year in 5 years. And when I first joined that business, I was so eager to be a success because despite everything that was going on, I still had a little voice in my head that was saying that you're not good enough for this. You know, and I was just prepared to do everything in my willpower to make sure that it was a success. Now, the downside to that was I was young, naive, and immature, and I wanted everybody that walked through that door to match my energy. Not everybody wanted to match my energy. Some people just wanted to come to work, do a 9 to 5, go home, and that's okay. if they want to do that. I can't relate to that. Like I just can't. Like, but it doesn't mean that's not what some people want. Some people just want an easy life. Some people don't care about work, don't care about being successful, aren't really cared about proving or changing the world. Like, and I think that was the hardest part to come to deal with at the beginning. But, you know, unfortunately with my life, I've made so many mistakes that I've ended up learning from them. So the best way to become, you know, good at something is be a leader. Do you know what I mean? And learn from stuff. But you know, and even to this day, I'm still making mistakes. You know, I just made up with somebody in my office because we had a massive fallout because, you know, we both kind of clashed heads, and, you know, rather than being a mature person, my ego got the better of me, and we didn't speak for a few months. But now we've been able to bury the hatchet and get over it and stuff. So I'm not sitting here pretending I'm a perfect leader, and you're constantly learning. But it really, you know, evolves in the fact that you have to have an open mind. You know, there's, you know, for you, when I first met you, I was like, whenever I spoke to anyone, Theo, anyone, any of the people that you ended up working with as well, I was like, this kid is smart. Like, he is so smart. And you have to have, you know, enough dignity within you to go, do you know what? This kid might be 21 years old, but I can learn from him. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of leaders don't want to do that. They don't want to acknowledge that this 21-year-old can actually teach me something. And before, I would always think that as well. But at the same time, I had to evolve over time, where the point I was like, you know, I need to hear these people. I don't, you know, we have one mouth and two ears for a reason. You know, we need to listen more, take on board more, stop talking as much. And, you know, and that was really, I think, my kind of turning point of starting to understand, you know, what a good leader is. And that is to really go, I can learn from everyone here. You know, it's, I heard one thing that really stuck with me, in the guy that did Wolf of Wall Street, the actual guy. He came out and said, you know, when he was younger and he first entered that world of trading, he thought he was the man. You know, he thought he was the dog's bollocks, and he was so cocky, so arrogant. His boss pulled him in, and he was like, "You think you're the man, don't you?" He's like, "Yeah, I am the man. Look at my numbers." He's like, "Yeah, you might be doing good numbers, but you're not the smartest person in the room. The smartest person in the room is the one that surrounds himself with the smartest people in the room." And it was so true, because it was like, you don't have to be the smartest people. You don't have to be the smartest person. Just make sure you surround yourself with them, take from them, and then implement that, because that's way more powerful than thinking you know everything.
100%.
So, yeah.
Yeah, first, I mean, I appreciate what you were saying there. And, you know, it's just so interesting because I was watching the other day a podcast by Steven, the director of the CEO.
Yeah.
And I think he was talking with Simon Sinek, the TEDx guy. And they were saying that people don't understand, but leadership is actually, it's a process. Leadership is not the role of CEO. Leadership is every day going there and creating new leaders.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that a good leader would actually kind of not have a legacy, that's not the point, but kind of, okay, I am helping this thing to grow. Not just for myself, but for the people around me, right? And one thing that I was reading that I thought that was interesting as well is that sometimes leadership, we have a very wrong concept in our heads, because we always see leaders, at least from the West, we would always have that, okay, a leader is a person that comes to the room yelling with a suit, going to their office in the back chair, staying there for many hours, very busy, aggressive, hard to talk and everything. So like some kind of male traits.
Yeah.
At the time that we need to have some female traits on a leader person, because you need to listen to people more.
You need to have empathy.
You need to have empathy. You need to understand, why is that person in your team not performing as their best? And if there's something to do with you, how can you change that, right? Yeah. So having this humble side is for me, I don't know, but it's the number one to actually lead anything. Yeah. And like leader, I don't mean like just CEO or just like in a company, even in relationships, even with friendships, because everyone is like kind of a leader in a small scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's bang on. And the thing is, you know, there is no easy answer to leadership, and I don't think there is actually any true thing about leadership. You know, and honestly, you know, everything kind of means the same stuff, because as I said to you about the leader stuff, but like having worked for leaders that weren't good, you know, I could have looked at it the other way and gone, this person is an idiot. Like, I fucking hate my job. I hate them. I hate this. I hate that. And played the victim mindset. But I don't think enough people actually go, do you know what? I'm actually learning something from this guy. Like, he's showing me what I should and shouldn't do.
What you shouldn't do, right?
You know, and I think as well, like, one thing I wasn't when I first started was I wasn't as self-aware as what I am now. And I think once you strip back the fact that this is just a person that thinks he's making a right decision, you know, and if he is making a bad decision and he's the one that will make that decision eventually, it's on him to make that decision. We can't control it, you know. And yeah, I mean, it really is a complex question that could go on forever. But, you know, I'm constantly learning with leadership. There is no kind of right answer. But I think nowadays with people like yourselves and coming into the workplace and youngsters, it's like, you know, what I'm seeing is you guys want to be seen, you want to be heard, you want to be valued, you want to be a part of something that means something. So I think being able to adopt all those behaviors for somebody that owns a business, you know, is so important, making those people feel valued. You know, one thing I learned, especially in my leadership, was I won't go into the story in detail, but I helped somebody that was in desperate need, and that made me feel so good that I was able to help him. That was another thing that I wanted to introduce to my leadership, was that I would help my team no matter what, you know. And there's other stories where, you know, one of my document controllers, she came from a company that wasn't paying for her, and I sat her down and I said, what do you want from your life? Like, what is it that you want? She's like, Daniel, I'd love to bring my kids to Dubai and put them into school. And I put her on a process that within 6 months, her kids were living with her and her husband in Dubai, you know. And, you know, for me being able to like help achieve those dreams, I think that's also something that contributes towards, you know, good leader, you know, sitting down, like, what is it that you want from your life? Like, one of the other girls that works for me, she said the same. I said to her the other day, I was like, what do you want? She was like, I really want to buy a house with my partner. So it's like, that's the stuff that's going to drive that person. So being a good leader is actually knowing what drives these people, what wakes them up every day, so that rather than bollocking them every single day if they're not doing their performance, it's about being able to lean into that emotional side and just remind them that this is why you're doing what you're doing. Don't forget that. That's still there. You can achieve that. It's attainable, but you need to do X, Y, and Z. Rather than be like, you're fucking shit, you're this, you're that, the other, which 75% of businesses will still do.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You know? Yeah.
I think in the end of the day, it all comes to the reason of why you're doing something. And that's something that I struggle a lot, because sometimes I start doing something and then I realize that I'm halfway there and I don't even know why I'm doing that. That's something that I used to struggle a lot. And when you have this kind of clear vision of why you're doing something, it's way easier to keep up the day, right? Yeah. So for example, in your case, that you have the job and you have the business, you know why exactly you are doing both of them, right? Yeah. That's how you can probably wake up in the 6 a.m., wake up sleep every day, 11, midnight.
I wish I was waking up at 6 a.m. at the moment, mate. Jeez.
Before?
Yeah, I'm waking up at like 4 a.m. every morning at the moment.
4 a.m.?
Yeah, I can't sleep.
Why? Yeah. What's in your mind?
It's just so much is going on. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, this is why. Do you know what? I actually spoke about this with one of my guests, Dariush, and he was like, I actually respect the people that can just go to work, go home, go to the pub, enjoy it, and be content. Yeah. Because sometimes I would love to be that content, but I can't. Do you know what I mean? Like, like stuff is on my mind all the time. All the time. I give my stuff way too much to do. You know, even with the podcast, I sat down with Andressa, my girlfriend, who's been an incredible addition to my life. But she, you know, I sat down and I said, babe, do you think I should quit the podcast? Because I'm just giving myself too much to do. She's like, babe, do you enjoy doing it? I'm like, yeah, I love the conversations that I have. Sometimes it's a bit hard work, but at the end I feel really good. She's like, good, carry on doing it, you know? But, you know, I do give myself too much to do, but yeah. Yeah, that you know, I agree 100%. Sometimes, like, I think, like,
Because it needs to be very careful, because sometimes the way that we say things, it kind of reflects bad in a way, but that's
Yeah.
not the intention. But
Yeah.
I would love, to be honest, like if in my 20s, I would be just happy to go to the parties, or maybe to meet some friends like every day. Maybe you finish university, you just go 4 p.m., you stay until 11 just hanging out, having some fun.
Yeah.
The next day you wake up 8, go directly to class 4 p.m., and then the cycle is there.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, of course, this is something that I would love to. I'm not going to lie. Of course, I would. But I know that this is not going to ultimately lead me to the place I want to be,
Yeah.
right? If I want to be in 5 years at that specific place, or at least somewhere on that place, there are some things that we need to avoid. And there are some things that we need to do to ensure that we're kind of maximize our chances, if we can say that, right?
Now, it's a very good point, because even though we said we'd love to be people like that, you've got to be a very special type of person with a special type of upbringing to really be content with the life that you have. And there's a reason why. The reason why is we were put on earth, like if we rewind, and I say this all the time as a comparison to people, just to understand why we have these emotions. My brain, compared to somebody else's brain thousands of years ago, will look exactly the same. If you were able to do tests on the chemicals that go through our brain and all these natural things that happen, it's the same. We are humans that were designed to hunt and stay alive. That was it. That was all we had to do. But as the world has evolved around us, and we've realized that, we can do this, we can do that, we've discovered this, we've discovered that, our natural emotions still don't go away. And one of those natural emotions is purpose, because men were put on earth to protect and provide. And whilst we don't necessarily have to protect and provide anymore, we still have to follow a purpose. And the purpose was, once upon a time, to feed the village, make sure that everyone had food, and protect, So whilst that's all gone now and we don't have to really do that, we still have a deep desire to have a purpose and have a purpose in life. And there's no surprise why there is so much suicide with men nowadays, and why men feel so lost and depressed and stuff and turn to drugs and are so crazy at times. And it's because they've lost their purpose in life, and what me and you are doing right now is trying to find, or if we already found it, is follow our purpose. And ultimately, that purpose once upon a time was to put food in our belly and stay alive. But now it kind of is the same, right? We have a job. Like if we didn't have a job, we'd have to hunt for food. So there's a lot more convenience to have purpose. But I think that is a huge driver towards why a lot of people are ambitious, because deep down, deep wired and deep rooted into our DNA is that we have a deep desire to have a purpose in life. Now, can you figure that out? I don't know. But the ones that do, obviously, are doing what me and you are doing right now.
Yeah. And it's just crazy, because it, at the same time that like all of us have the same kind of purpose, not the same purpose, but the same brain to kind of lead to find that purpose. A lot of people just take a lot of different routes, right?
Yeah.
And no one is wrong, no one is correct. It's just different lifestyles, different like kind of paths that we want to choose. But this we can see how it's going to reflect in the next 5-10 years. Because I think that usually people that are not realizing that they need to move now is because they cannot see how the future is going to be.
Yeah.
They cannot project their lives in 5-10 years. Like, okay, if I keep doing this thing, how is going to be my life in the next 5 years? In the next year? And to be honest, like even with my brother, one time I was talking with him. He's very young now. He's 16 and he's going to high school. And he was telling me, I have this course to do. He wants to study abroad. I have this course to study abroad, but I just don't do it. And he was like just sitting there watching TV and everything. And I was telling him, look, everyone had this time. Everyone kind of struggles sometime, not having a purpose, not having idea of what to do. But the most important thing, just start doing. Even if maybe you don't like right now to go to the gym, even if you don't like to kind of watch 1 hour of class per day. But if you have the time, I'm sure that you're not going to regret it later. And to be honest, like I told him, look, everything that I do, it's only for one reason. Because I don't want to be that old uncle in the end of the day that would say, if I were your age, I would do everything different. No, you would not.
Yeah.
Because if you would have done before.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how it kind of is in my mind. And I told him, look, it's okay. Maybe you're gonna have some days that's not gonna work. Maybe there are some days that I'm not gonna be able to perform better in the business. I'm not gonna be able to get some, maybe a good conversation on a podcast. But I know that what I'm doing, I'm gonna kind of one day reach there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. And, you know, one thing about that, and one thing that was said very early on in one of my podcasts with a guy, and it rang so true because not many people look at this. They're like, everybody gets fixated on change. Your brother is focusing on the end goal of, I need to do this, rather than going, if I do an hour of this tonight, an hour of it tomorrow night, then that means I've only got 2 hours of it on the weekend, which means I don't have to take 4 hours, which means I can do it in a normal amount of time, which is not invading too much brain space, and I can actually go and watch TV. But people focus on that too much, on the end result. Whereas 1% of change, it's like if you're a pilot, right? You're flying a plane to Brazil, let's say. You do it 1 degree to the right, you're going to end up in Japan, for example, and you'll end up in a different destination. And that's because 1 degree of change over a period of time will eventually change the course of your life. And the second part of that would also be, first of all, if you're willing to make that change, but if you're not, the place that you're currently at has to be so painful that you really want to change.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right now, convenience is a part of all of our lives. And some people are just not in the painful place of where it hurts so much that they really want to change, you know? And until one day it will be too much. And then hopefully they'll go and change. But we're not all built that way.
Yeah.
And some people just, you know, that's just the way they are.
How do you think that you can kind of, because like again, just kind of bring it back to leadership. How do you think that you as a leader or someone as a leader can kind of share this kind of vision in an effective way with the people around you?
Yeah. First of all, I think for that to be passed on to others is you have to kind of let them feel trusted, let them feel like they have a voice. Because if that is the case, then these people will start to kind of come out of their shells. You know, I see it a lot where a lot of people, and this varies on nationalities, but they're too afraid to make a mistake. And the problem is they haven't been given a comfortable space where they feel they can truly be their authentic self to make the decisions, because they're too worried to make a mistake, when making mistakes is a part of actually being good at what you do. So being able to give people that safe space and let them feel valued and let them propose their ideas and so on will make them feel valued within that role, which will then ultimately get them to adopt the same behaviors, and they'll pass that on to the people that come and work for them, because they'll realize that actually I really enjoyed it when Danny or Gabrielle or whoever it was did this for me, so I'm going to adopt that same behavior. Very similar to having a bad boss. Yeah, you're not going to adopt that behavior, you're going to do the complete opposite for it. So, you know, leadership in no sense, like it can be either you do that to benefit the person, which they'll go and adopt that behavior later on, or do the complete opposite where they do the complete opposite of what you do later on.
Yeah, 100%. I think in the end of the day, it all comes back to relationships.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of people, they kind of have this difference, this barrier. Okay, here's my work, here are my relationships, let's say. But to be honest, like even at Spirit, what we say is that this makes a lot, because we are dealing with humans. Of course, we need to kind of divide somewhere, but we are dealing with humans. The people that we work with all have emotions. They all maybe have a bad day.
Yeah.
They all have some different things that they want to share. And if you don't acknowledge these small things, how can we have this team that in the end of the day are going to be changing people's life or for anything, right? So it all kind of drives back to understanding the other person next to you, relating to her or to him, and then maybe like taking the next step, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the most valuable pieces of information that I learned when I first started selling was people buy from people, you know. And when anyone says I'm not a salesperson, it is nonsense. We have to sell ourselves in one way or a form every single day of our life, whether that's negotiating with our girlfriend to let me go out with the lads on the weekend, or getting a pay rise from your boss, or whatever the situation might be. You're always in a sales environment because you're having to sell yourself.
Yeah. And then some people, they don't realize that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And these are the things that we don't know. We don't learn this. Let's
Yeah.
say in school, we don't learn that those kind of things.
Exactly.
Leadership, sales, because they all think that, okay, the sales guy is going to be that boring one that's going to be calling me the entire day, trying to prank me or something.
Yeah,
right?
because the education system is out of date, and you know they're trying to groom the kids that will one day be the adults into being a certain way. You know, why do you think they teach you to be a certain way? Like, who do you know at your school that actually did really, really well in their grades? Like, what are they doing now? Like, I don't really know any of the children that I went to school with, you know. And I am convinced, and I go based on data, and that data is I've interviewed some seriously successful people that 98%, I would say, of the guests that I've had on my show, which is close to 100 now, never had an education, hated school, went against the norm, and have done something special.
Yeah. I think there are two different things, right? Being smart in the books, getting the grades and getting the A's, but then being smart at life.
Exactly.
In making the decisions.
Yeah.
In taking that risk when you had to take.
Yeah.
In moving when you had to.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you could get common sense in like a protein shake, but it's like a common sense shake. The world would be incredible. Imagine. Maybe that's the business idea.
Yeah. It's the next one for you.
Yeah. What are you doing, Danny? I'm selling common sense.
I mean, a lot of people don't have nowadays, right? They need.
Oh, mate, it's the bane of my life, that is.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting to see that in the end of the day, like, life is kind of simple. Simple if we want to achieve that, we need to do this.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good entrepreneur, you need to do the things that good entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing that I see a lot of people struggling, at least this is my opinion, like when we're gonna start something, let's say, everyone aims for the quality. Yeah. Right? Oh, I need to have that best product that we're going to launch in the first year. And then they spend 12 months kind of preparing that product. And then when they launch, they realize that, oh, maybe the market was not like that, or maybe there's some mistakes here. When on the other hand, if you kind of launched small MVPs during this first year, like, oh, first month we kind of have something, let's show to the public, we get some feedback and we implement. Yeah. Then second month and the third month, you failed a lot. Maybe the first time no one liked your product, right? But then in the end of the first year, you kind of were able to implement, get all of this feedback, this data, and improve it, right? So you kind of see like how the quantity sometimes would surpass the quality of things, especially if you're starting something new.
But it's repetition, right?
Yeah, that's why.
We go to the gym, we lift weights, we don't get muscly after doing one bicep curl. We get muscly after doing 6 months of bicep curls, you know, squats, whatever exercise you want to do. But it's the same. You train that muscle. It's like when I first started my podcast, mate, I had my iPhone camera with a microphone plugged in. That was my podcast. Yeah. But over time, I did more and more and more. Then I realized the sound was terrible. There was distortion speaking on this microphone. So I invested in some microphones. Then I got some microphones. Then video started to be popular. Then I started reels, blah, 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 blah. And over time, after doing repetition after repetition, you become better. You improve the technique, you know, and that is genuinely it. That is genuinely it. But my podcast has cost me thousands. Every year, thousands. I've not made money back. You know, I'm only very, very close now to getting to the monetization start of things through different channels. But it's cost me money. But I carried on doing it and did it and did it and did it. And now I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor. A lot more people see me as a credible person to speak to. Yeah. People want to come on the podcast. You know, like I've got people with millions of followers that are like, I want to be on your show because I've done the hard work and put in the hard steps now. And unfortunately, some people just don't want to do it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I think I'm pretty sure like the return in the money side, maybe is still growing now, like after 5 years. But the return that you got in your experience, in your learning while talking to people, in the connections that you got,
mate,
crazy.
That was my education.
Yeah,
that truly was my education.
Yeah.
That. I think having a podcast has solely been the one thing that's really helped me exercise the muscle of emotional intelligence. Like honestly, the person I was before I started the pod to where I am now is like completely different, because I've understood so many different people's stories, you know, and some of my stories haven't always been about business and been very delicate and very, you know, very sad stories to talk about. And then once you realize that it doesn't matter what the status of that person is, like we all have been through some shit times in our life, suffered some form of trauma. We are all humans and we're all equal, you know. There's nothing that defines us to be any different, and we might have achieved different things, but deep down, you cut us open, we all bleed the same blood, you know. And, you know, people don't see that as much anymore. And I think, you know, if we could, you know, go back to that and really just, as you say, having that human connection and understanding that we're all human, it generally would change things. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I love having these conversations, but the reality of it all is it's not going to change.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there'll be people like us that want to change and make a difference, but then you'll still get the people that, you know, but that's a part of society, right? We need those people, because those will be the people that come and work for you one day, you know?
Yeah. What a way to wrap it, I think, right? Thank you very much for coming, and really was such a great time, man.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you so much. Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, finally.
I was beginning to think you were the Tinder swindler. But for podcasts.
Yeah.